1890, Chaminuka happens.
Pamire was changed, and then the spirit came. Chaminuka was his name, and everywhere there was jubilation, a leader had been found, chosen by the ancestors, and people came from afar to see him for themselves. He was chosen by the ancestors.
And for sure, they arrived. The foreigners arrived, and very soon, they embedded themselves within the majority of our people. They started taking over land and changing the governance of the indigenous people. The land acquisition was done through one simple system. Do you remember what it was when the land acquisition was done? You weren't there. Perfect. Ugo, abazukulu. Tonight you are all my bazukuru, despite the relationships that exist, that kind of thing, you are all my bazukuru. Bazukuru, do you know how it was done? The foreigners gave themselves horses. From 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., whatever amount of land that they covered, whether it was 2,000 hectares or 4,000 hectares or 6,000 hectares, they declared it theirs for free. That was the pioneer column. After declaring theirs, they removed all the people from the arable land and all moved to rocky places. For me, my clan was here, Mazoe Valley. We were pushed to the edges, closer to Mount Darwin and Chiweshe, with much more rocky. It was a very brutal system. Good, wake up. I like this defending bit. This is a journey. We're on a journey here, particularly for those that actually do heritage-based education. Chara, 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 wara, wara, wara. This is the history, right? With time, more repressive laws were passed. Social habits were changed. Remember at the beginning when I said, Kaziwai, suddenly this clapping was exchanged with a handshake. It was, let's shake on it. Up to today, you have got the handshake and you have not been able to understand its origins. For you have dispensed with the clapping of the hands. They came up with laws that favored themselves. One of those key laws that they came up with was something called the Loot Committee. Have you ever heard about the Loot Committee? No? Oh, good gosh. Good gracious. Good chakuti. All right. The Loot Committee worked like this. If an indigenous person had 50 cattle, 30 were taken away from him. It was not about her. Those are the years, 30 were taken away from you, and then you would remain with 20. These 30 were never compensated for this is the beginning of all the mbingas. Today's mbingas do gold and stuff. Then it was cattle. One of those key people, Abazukulu, who did that was Thomas Miku's. Because Thomas Mikus was a postman. So as he went around delivering letters and stuff, he was able to tell, aha, and then they'll just take zero compensation again. Are we together? More repressive laws were passed, such as the heart tax. And with the introduction of the heart tax, the people started organizing themselves because they thought this cannot continue. Enough is enough. Sokukwanile zakwana. The spiritual leaders like Nehanda and Kaguvi started leading the people, while chief strategists like Mapondera, Mashayamombe, Chingaira, and so many others started leading the people towards resistance. With more resistance happening, the Matabeleland uprising happened. With the Matabeleland uprising happening, in Mashonaland, the people like here in Mount Abden, right? Actually, a bit of clarity here. You are aware whose land you are sitting on, right? Abazukulu, whose land are you sitting on? Harare. You are sitting on Harare's land. That's why this city is called Harare. But it was Harare anyway, right? As the leaders and the people fought against all the repressive laws, that's what became known as the first Chimurenga, Umvukela. Now you can see the daughter. You understand it better. With the first Chimurenga happening, the oppressors, the foreigners, then chopped the heads of some of the ancestors, the spiritual leaders, like Nehanda. Nehanda was hung where again? Where was a trial? Sorry? No. Copy, eh? Yes, very correct. Because where the Reserve Bank is right now, that was the court house. But do you know why those heads were decapitated? Why the people were decapitated? You don't decapitate the head, you decapitate the person. This is just English. You know. You know, me being your grandfather, the English. Yes, it disappears. That's why you have a Zukuru. You know? Yeah, all my grandchildren tonight. Right. So, do you know why that decapitation, not those decapitation, that decapitation happened? Yeah, look a bit smarter. You'll get a very good answer. Let's not disappoint me. Mzuguru. Why did the decapitation happen? Oh, finish. The decapitation happened so that Christianity could be introduced, could be accelerated. Mind you, your Neanders, your Kaguvis, as your spiritual leaders who already had a connection with Mwari, with Unamkulumkulu. They understood that. So they figured out, let's take their heads, take them to England as trophies. But much more importantly, to ensure that Christianity rises. But by the way, the Pioneer Collab is not the one that introduced Christianity. The London Missionary Society. Sometimes we forget the influence of the Scots in this mix. You know? People like Robert Moffat were already at the What is it? A house, not a house. What do you call it? The court of Mzilikazi. But again, LMS is not the one that introduced Christianity to this country. It was who? Around the 1500s? Yes, so the Portuguese. The Portuguese had already infiltrated the Ngwenumetapa Empire This is why the Ngwenwetapa Empire was sending in some of its princes to be trained as priests. The last prince of the Ngwenwetapa Empire, when he came back around 1610, was chased away up to Sofala, and he was told by Ngwenwetapa Chibatamatosi, "Usadzoke kuno, don't ever come back." Sahwira House comes into place, and so many other things. And there you have got your confusion that you still experience today. Suddenly they become more Christians than the Christians themselves. Is there something called the Christians themselves? They become more Christian than the one that introduced it. Very, very worrying, Awazukulu. With the hanging of people like Nehanda, the killing of people like Mapondera, Chingaira, Mashaya Mombe, and all these other people, the foreigners thought we have dealt with the problem. But they forgot that we are what? Seed. Enter Benjamin Murombo. Do you know about Benjamin Murombo? The Mazukulu of tonight are very, very unknowledgeable. The others were doing much, much better. They were trying. But the ones for tonight, Benjamin Murombo was a trade unionist. I know people actually thinking, trade unionist? Around 1948, 1949? 1950 up to 1951. But remember, with the introduction of factories, of industry, people are being moved, men were being moved from their rural homes. Enter the introduction of things like Mbare, Matapi. In Kobulawayo, if you go into Magwegwe and other places, Makokoba. Right? Those are the origins of it. Right? But I think it's important that I do a little tour here, because as the husbands left the villages, they were only allowed to go back home once a year. And the wives were only allowed to come to the cities again once a year. So a lot of illegitimate children were born during that time, and these children were being facilitated by the head boys. The one that looked after the cattle. I encourage all you here to go back to your villages and actually go through the register and see, was this one ours? Hey. Because he discovered, actually, no, there must be something wrong there. Right. Anyway, back to my story. Benjamin Murombo launched a massive resistance against what was called the communal tax. He believed that since a lot of land has already been taken away and now we are left with this little bit, we should not be made to pay. But unfortunately, up to today, we still pay. He didn't win that case. I'm a headman. As a headman, I know that every household in my village pays $3 a year. It's a lot of money, considering that the majority of the people are all settled in the villages. It's serious money there, right? But anyway, Benjamin Murombo died in 1951, and when he died in 1951, over 15,000 people attended his funeral. He was a somebody, he was a real chef. Yeah. After Benjamin Murombo died, we move a little bit into the 1960s. My favorite part. It's also going to be your favorite part, because in the 1960s, entered the nationalist activists. I'll say it again, nationalist activists. There's nothing wrong with the word activist. Yeah. Sometimes we want to run away from it, we want to shy away from it. These nationalist activists were people like Joshua Mkomo, Morton Malianga, Robert Mugabe, Herbert Chitepo, you know, and so many others. Dabaningi Stole. These were all activists. So after tonight, I don't want to hear anybody saying there's something wrong with being an activist. Are we together? Because these were activists. Yeah. We've tried to dirty the word. To deaden. Is it dirty? Dirty. Dirty. Deaden. Bazukulu. You know the English language, eh? This is not mine. It came with the ship. Now, the nationalist activists figured out they needed to change tactic. Eh? So, inspired by the last words of Nehanda, where she said, Mapupa angu achamuka, these bones shall rise again. They went to Njelele Shrine and asked the spirit mediums for assistance. The medium said, no problem. We will help you. And so began the beginning of the second Chimurenga. Anditiga. Ende. Feel free to sing along, Abazukulu, and dance if you want. And the mediums asked these nationalist activists for two things. They say to them, since we assist you, when you come back, when you win the war, you must do two things. Does anybody remember what these two things were? What the covenant, Miko, covenant, Miko is covenant, right? Does anybody remember what the covenant was that was made in Njelele? She's a walk. She's a walk. The mediums basically said, when you win the war, you must do 7 biras, cleansing ceremony. No, 10 biras, cleansing ceremonies. Those that are long in the tooth, I'm inspired by my white friends here. I'm speaking English, proper English. Long in the tooth. Those are older. Those who are older like me will remember that Robert Mugabe did 7 biras. The day he stopped doing these biras, 98 people died in a stampede at the National Sports Stadium. He never revisited those biras again. Right, that was number 1. That's why I said she was smart. She's smart, not was. She's smart. The second covenant was, you need to bring back our heads and bury them. Now, those that have been following our newspapers, our stories, I think that yesterday or 2 days ago, there are some heads that came back from South Africa. About 8 heads. We don't know. Interestingly, did government say that they are going to bury them? Or they say that they are thinking about it? Anyway, think about it yourselves. Right. What we know is that these heads have not come back yet. We know that the British ambassador has gone to see Minister Kazembe a number of times to say, hey, now we are ready to give you back your heads. And the minister has said, when we are ready, we'll tell you. Students of history will know that there is a great issue there. Because if some of these heads come back, you might experience a balance of power. You know, because these are not ordinary people. But anyway, we'll have that conversation when you start asking questions. If you have any questions to ask about that. Time moved. A lot of people lost their lives. Blood was shed. After years and years of fighting, the foreigners and the people agreed to come together, to sit down and discuss the issues. A compromise was made. Lots of compromises were made there. An agreement was hashed up and so forth, and one says, yes, we need to agree on this, we must move forward and so forth. And this agreement, what is it called? Abazugulu. This one I'm sure you know, yes, sir. Lancaster. He would know because he has got in his village, Joy in his village has got a cow called Lancaster. I've seen that cow, Joy. Yeah, very, very, very productive. And as a result of Lancaster, a constitution was developed. Everyone signed to it. They said it's not perfect, but we'll sign it. Right? Time moved on. This agreement is done in 1979. In 1980, elections were held. The majority party won. Everyone celebrated freedom. Everyone celebrated. We were all happy. We said, now the country is ours, right? This is exactly what we actually wanted. The two things that were used as a rallying point to go to war, which was land and the universal suffrage being one man, one vote, we finally had it. And we said, yes, we participated in this. This is now our land. We have brought it back. Time moved on. 1987. The leaders decided that it was time to change a few things. To change the political infrastructure. I don't want anybody to argue with me about Zukulu. Not structure, but infrastructure. Infrastructure. At that time, we had the president was Reverend Kenan Sodido Banana. Now imagine having a president called Banana. It's like a banana republic or something. Anyway, the family might sue me if I'm not careful here. You have to be very careful here. Right. And the prime minister was Robert Gabriel Mugabe. Again, some of us remember every month, Robert Gabriel Mugabe's prime minister would actually go to parliament and have a question and answer session. Accountability was very high. But in 1987, it was decided that, no man, we need to have an executive president. So, overnight, the president was now the head of state as well as the head of government. He was really in charge of the nation. But we are told that this whole idea of having executive president was pushed by a certain guy from Ashingo who had gone to Harvard University, and he thought he would quickly become president. So Mugabe is now getting on with years. But no. Robert Gabriel Mugabe said, no. I am not going anywhere. The other things that were actually changed in the constitution at that time were, one, land. Power was given to the leaders to redistribute land. After all, there was nothing wrong with it. But this land was one of the key reasons why we went to war. The second thing was the 20 seats. Remember in 1980, the white community in Zimbabwe had 20 seats reserved for them. But then it was decided, let everyone else be voted in. This is positive. Huh? Time moved on. Around 2000, again, there was a bit of tinkering with the constitution because it was felt then that that particular constitution that we had inherited from Lancaster, which we had been inherited, written, drafted by the British, mind you. Zimbabwe and the other colonial, what do you call them, little colonies, had been given constitutions by a country that has no constitution itself. So I have no idea how you're expecting it to work. England runs on what? Since it has no constitution. What does it run on? Huh? Yes, statutes. Called what? You're almost close, right? It's on your. Called the Magna Carta. So it was obvious that that constitution would not work. So after the constitution had been decapitated, had been operated on, dissected 19 times, the people and the leaders agreed that, this thing, it can't work. And since it can't work, Jonathan gets brought in to lead the 2000 process of trying to do a new constitution. And things like NCA and so forth and so forth. The rest of that part I'm sure you know. Anyway, time moved on. Government of National Unity came, and after formation of Government of National Unity, again, one of the key issues there was we need to have a new constitution. And again, people agreed, and the leaders. Consultations were made. They said, sure, let's go out there. And with the consultations being made, the key thing there was like, we cannot have an executive president who stays forever. We need to have some form of limits. So let's go out there and consult the people. The people were consulted. And they made their own input. After making input, they were asked, are you now happy with it? They said, yes, we're now happy with it. A referendum was held. And everyone was happy. Everyone said, now this document is ours. This is the 2013 Constitution, which was endorsed by 94.5%. And the people claimed it and said, we have participated. This speaks through to our collective vision. It speaks through to our collective wishes. We are all together. We are finally feeling like tiritese, chinu. And for sure, celebrations were held. The signing ceremony took place at Harare International Conference Center.
Sometimes Parliament thinks that it is so sovereign that it should control the acts. The principles. Quit. Modzora. Na mangwana wako. Manga makufaira. Sometimes people fail to know where power has derived from.
After the signing ceremony, we all danced to the late, great Oliver Mtukudzi when he sang Bumbiro Remutemo. Yeah. Hey. Bumbiro remutemo, not bumbiro remutemo. Bumbiro remutemo means the constitution. We celebrated and we said, yes, finally, it is done. We relaxed. 2013 constitution, the people's driven constitution. Takarivara Eduzo, in 2019, whilst we were fast asleep, we woke up to realize that there were two changes to the people's constitution in 2019. Takarivara. I know everyone is talking about cab number 3, but nobody wants to talk about cab number 1 and 2. So what was cab number 1? Constitutional Amendment Bill number 1. Does anyone remember? Yeah? If you remember, what was it? Sorry? No, that's cab number 2. Cab number 1 had to do with the judicial appointments. That's cab number 1. The People's Constitution was very clear. If you want to appoint the Chief Justice, the Deputy Chief Justice, and the Judge President, these 3 need to go for public hearings. It gets changed overnight. So that's why you're concerned, now you understand why your judicial system is like, all right, here. All right. And cab number 2 is the one that you actually said, the running mate. You can research it on your own. You've got anti-Google and so forth there. You can read it by yourselves. I've been spending too much time about these things there. And again, we're like, oh, okay. 7 years later, now it's a cumulative total of what? 13 years. In 2026, whilst we're all going on with our lives, contributing to the building of the nation, we woke up one morning and we were told the constitution must be changed again, not again. Again. And we're like, Aikaka, what is it now? One of the key things that they wanted to change was the tenure of the leaders. And we're like, if that's what you want to do, can you at least take the constitution back to the owners, to the 94.5% that had voted for it? Not too complicated at all. But we were told, no. We don't feel we need to go in that direction. But then we asked ourselves, do the small leaders remember what the big leader has always said about this issue of wanting to extend?
Mr. President, now that you are the president, was it regrettable that President Mugabe didn't leave legitimately and under elections a long, long time ago?
Now, with the new constitution, which came into office, into effect on the 22nd of May 2013, we have now limited the terms of presidency, just 2 terms, 5 years. If you are able to have 2 terms, then the maximum a person can remain in office are 2 terms. But beyond that, the constitution forbids.
Do you give a pledge that you will abide by that?
would like to entrench constitutionalism in Zimbabwe.
But will you abide by the
I
two
will
terms that you have
abide by
introduced?
that without any iota of resistance at all. Even if the people would love me to the hill, I will still go away because I believe constitutionalism is important. And in fact, you must give your people a chance to have other people come. 10 years is not a short period, in my view.
The country and the party will move on by electing my successor. That is clear as day. I'll persuade us, not to persuade you.
Then he said, so where is the problem? However, anyone who showed dissent was met with violence, the Maduku factor.
The Commission found most of the venues to be small relative to the turnout, leading to large numbers of potential participants failing to enter the halls to follow or contribute to proceedings. The Commission also found that while those in support of constitutional amendment were able to give their views, the Commission noted the harassment and intimidation of dissenting voices. Individuals and groups opposed to constitutional amendment, Bill number 3, were denied audience. Thirdly, the Commission observed instances where participants with divergent views to the proposed amendments were threatened, silenced, denied opportunities to contribute, and in some instances, physically attacked. The Commission noted that there was a strong pattern of controlled participation across provinces. Some entrances to venues were often controlled by young people, with vetting at entry points and supervised sign-in registers with restricted access. For example, in Mashonaland West, there were men who were observed to be holding whips who were involved in vetting participants in Mondorongezi. Such conduct, the Commission notes, violates the rights enshrined in the Constitution, including the right to freedom of expression guaranteed in Section 61, the right to freedom of conscience guaranteed by Section 60, the right to human dignity in Section 51, the right to personal security enshrined by Section 52, and the right to equality and non-discrimination guaranteed by Section 56 of the Constitution. The Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission reiterates that the constitutional amendment process must align with obligations under international, regional, and regional human rights law, including the United Nations International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, which guarantees participation in public affairs, freedom of expression, and equality before the law, as well as the African Union's own Charter of Democracy and Good Governance.
Abasokulu, all the people have been asking for is, can this document come to us? Can you consult us? You know? Either we're going to agree or we're going to disagree, but the bottom line is that Chinuche Luigi, let it come back to us. We contributed immensely towards this, Abazukulu. That's all the people just want, Kanye. Abazukulu, mina, I am just a storyteller. But my stories are driven and inspired by our ancestors. The people of Abazukulu should just be allowed to express themselves. The voice of the people is the voice of the ancestors. The voice of the people is the voice of so many that lost their lives in the war. The voice of the people, Abazukulu, is the voice of Mwari Umkulu. It's the voice of God. Abazukulu, it doesn't have to come to a point where lives have to be lost in order just to be heard. How difficult can that be, just to be heard, to be listened to? Abazukulu, I would like to leave you with a song done by a late friend of mine and another one who is alive. And this song, for those that don't know this song, this is a lamentation for Zimbabwe. This song is as old as Chakuti themselves, as the ancients themselves. This song is a song that this country normally uses to evoke passion, to evoke emotion, to evoke spirit. I leave you with this song, Abazukulu. something else that you want to say, feel free. If you have a question, I knew it was going to be Patience Piri. Right. Yes, Patience. Patience was my writer for my last piece 3-4 years ago, something called Aikaka. She happens to be from Bulawayo.
My question was, like you mentioned, I'm from Bulawayo. Is there a particular reason why you skipped from Lancaster to the Unity Accord? And you skipped what for us, the Southerners, is a very important part of the history. Are you being a Shona person? Are you like, what's going on?
It's Samandebele. Yeah. I was very deliberate. It's intentional. Yeah, it's very, very intentional. I think I just wanted to spend my time on the various movements in terms of how the constitutions change here. Okay, right. Who was the first one here? Yes, Kennedy.
Thank you. I'm glad you mentioned the word activism. And it is not a dirty word. Some of us, our activism was born out of the Chiwonise Constitution. Is there a reason why you didn't really give it much attention? Because we went for a referendum.
Yes.
And the outcome was vote no, carried the vote.
That was my question. I think I was in a hurry to try to get to where we are, now, which for me it defies logic. Yes.
Did KoreKore one some time ago?
Yes.
Was there something in between?
After we did, it was called Mwanawa, and then we focused on the illegal gold mining activities in the country and so forth. Then I think I did Aikaka. And Aikaka was actually a surprise one as well, to sort of say, so we wake up Robert Mugabe, because I needed to have a connection to the current guys. So we woke up the late President Mugabe, and then we give him his perspective, where he says, so what are you doing now? Why is the current still going this direction? What is this, that? So it's a conversation. Actually, it's him asking the current leadership. Yes?
Yes. Thank you, Dave. This is wonderful. I've got a simple question from which you could tap so much. When you were thinking about all this and bringing together all these things, what do you think were the most challenging part of this whole project? And what were the most joyful for you parts of this project, and why?
One morning, which is not too far from now, actually, about a month ago, right? It happened. It was like a light bulb moment. Yes, I like that story, light bulb moment. Where I was like, I have to use storytelling technique, Once I clear the storytelling technique, because, it gives you so many options. You don't have to be amazing about it. You don't have to follow a particular path to it. So you have got so much liberty to play around with anything, And I was like, okay, at least if I do storytelling, if I use that technique, I think I become untouchable. Disclaimer, right. This performance is not funded by any donor. Hey, we know you. You're going to say, the reason, you are selling his soul to the devil, why he was doing that is because he was paid lots of money. No. Those that know me, every 3-4 years, when I feel upset, when I feel strongly about something, I go out and I create, and I speak my mind, and I do it for my own sanity.
sevano. Akapiwa mitemo ine kumi kuti tishandise izuvano, iye izuvano vanorongera mamwe mitemo ine zana.